Hello and welcome to Call to Arms, and thank you for answering the call again, twice in one evening, answering the call. So welcome to an episode of Battlecry. So this episode we are going to be talking about the Balance Dataslate, aren't we, Simon?
Yes.
And we've also done it this is our first setup we've done in this kind of manner. It's like we're Art of War over here or something, you know? It's
just like pushing it there.
It's amazing. But yeah, so we've decided, so because Simon was here already for a wee battle report tonight. If you haven't already checked it out, Wordbearers versus Harlequins, go and check it out right now.
Good game.
That was a stonker of a game. I really enjoyed that. Very good. But yes, because Simon was already over, anyway, we figured why go back down the road to then do a Discord call to then do this? So we're just going to keep us here. We're going to have this nice kind of like
bit of banter,
bit of interview kind of esque type stuff. And yeah, we're just going to have a nice wee chat about the Balance Dataslate, something that's come out in the past, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so
something like that.
It's enough time that people can see the changes, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're going to have a wee chat about that and see what changes that has done to the 40k metaverse. But before we get into that, thank you very much. So please make sure to like and subscribe down below, and also comment as well. We've got a few folk in chat, so please be upstanding and give us lots of hot takes. Tell us all the units that you're going to run now because of the Balance Dataslate, although the units that you're not going to run now because of the Balance Dataslate.
Not too many, there's just the two of us here. You know?
Yeah, that's fine. So thanks again for tuning in, and shall we just dive right in, Simon?
Go for it.
Are we ready? I feel ready. Right, so the Balance Dataslate, quarter 4, 2022. So this is our last dataslate that we're going to get before, until the new year, basically. Yeah. So we'll have a decent, few months at the tournament scene using these new rules, and then we'll have a nice fresh start in the January, hopefully. Just kind of like top-down level view. What did you think of the Balance Dataslate?
It was definitely a less is more dataslate. I think it's fair. I think people in general were expecting larger changes than there was.
Okay.
I think there's some factions that came out of it looking quite good. I think there's other factions that's like, yeah, you needed a nerf and nothing seemed to hit you, to be perfectly honest. Yes. Some of the other ones, if you look back at the level of things that were changed, it's things like, indirect fire getting completely nerfed, or armored contempt, or bodyguard. So those were quite sweeping changes.
Yes. Yeah.
While here, what you can see GW is very clearly done is, they showed their meta-analysis. They showed the armies that were above that win rate that they wanted, and then they've gone, right, targeted, what can we do to bring those guys down?
Okay.
And other side of the coin, the guys who are completely at the bottom, what can we do to bring them up?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm going to be playing kind of devil's advocate during this whole thing, because I've seen two sides, so I'd say that's quite a very well balanced kind of view on it. I've seen people like, I've never seen Richard Siegler so angry in all my life, all my days. There's people that just basically went, you were talking about changes. People are going, what changes? Like, what has actually changed? That was nothing. You've done nothing to actually, bring people up or bring people down, and it's just like it's like a waste of paper. And it was late. And. To
be fair, I think I can get where they come from. That opinion that I said there was what I think GW was trying to do.
Yeah.
Whether I personally agree with it, I think no. I think probably we needed a bit more. Because the strong armies are still strong. Yep. The weak armies, do I expect them to see them at the top tables? Not as likely. And people say, there's already been Space Marine winners and Orc winners and things like this now, but you've also got to take into effect that there are exceptions to the rule, or there are incredibly talented players who can take any faction and we'll just freaking smash with it.
And that's the thing, like anytime that you just take a look at faction win rates and stuff like that, then it doesn't take into account player skill. And you've got guys that are on the scene that could literally take anything and they would do well at a tournament or an event, which is obviously bringing up the numbers as well. Or there's particular factions, this is something that you've kind of spoken to me about as well, that there's particular sub-factions within kind of like overall factions that you're not seeing because the rest of, for example, we'll just say Creations of Bile.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Creation of the Bile is it's a Chaos Space Marine subfaction that is doing really, really well at tournaments. Yeah.
Yep.
So people that take Bile are doing really, really well. But then people that are taking other things within Chaos are bringing the percentages down. So you're not really actually. So maybe GW are thinking it's like, so well they're like Chaos Space Marines as a faction, they're doing fine. They're sitting exactly where we want in terms of win rate, but they're not actually taking care of the problem thing. Yeah, because I'm sure like there was a few chats that we were talking about, and it's like we thought there was definitely going to be big changes to Bile, but there was none.
Well, at least some changes to Bile. Just do something.
Nothing happened. So yeah, but yeah. So I just wanted to have the kind of a general overview of this. I think you're totally right in what you're saying. I think the GW they've done some things. Whether these things will actually then turn out to be meaningful changes or not remains to be seen. We've got obviously a good kind of couple of months of tournament play in order to see these changes at play and to see if they actually do what they're trying to do.
I think there are gaps as well. So I mean, we'll talk about it specifically when we come to it, but there's things where we may as well start about. So Tyranids, as we start with. So
we'll just go down to Nids just now.
So
let's go for it. Let's go down to Nids. Perfect. So there's Nids there.
Okay.
So what's changed?
So Leviathan obviously has been one of the most powerful Nid factions pretty much since day one.
Yeah.
You've had Leviathan at the top. You then had Kraken as a number 2. You've then had people moving down from there. So what have they done to change it? So first thing they've done is the Reaper of Obliterax, which is obviously one of the most powerful relics you can take on Nids, which used to be when you do wounds, it does a mortal wound in addition.
Yep.
Which is lovely when you're talking you're a big Tyranid monster that can reroll all wounds, you've got a high strength already.
Yep.
You can literally say, yeah, this is probably going to be about 6 mortal wounds on top of what I'm doing.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. So what they've done is they have capped it. So it's now 3 wounds.
Yeah, so max 3. Yeah.
However, what they've done is they've capped it 3 wounds to a unit, which therefore means if you multi-charge 2 units and put attacks into both of them, you can still do exactly the same amount of mortal wounds you did before.
Oh my God,
So, are we thinking this is the world's greatest change? Possibly not.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely makes sense that they've done it. However, once again, maybe should it have just been the maximum it can do a turn is 3 mortal wounds or something like that.
It's just these little subtle word changes, and someone's going to find the nook, aren't they? They're going to find the cranny to go, well actually. So no, that's a really good spot there, Simon. Yeah, so
that's change 1.
Yep. Okay.
Next one is Leviathan's Transhuman.
Yeah.
So this is where things get a little bit weird, to put it bluntly.
Okay.
So it used to be Synapse creatures had Transhuman. So that is your warriors, your Neurophobe, your Zonephobes, etc., etc.
And this is why we were seeing the big blobs of warriors, which were just like unkillable, killing blobs. Yeah, exactly.
You put a 5-up feel no pain on them, you put a damage reduction 1 on them, the Transhuman, get a -1 to hit from your Venomphobes, and suddenly it's like, I don't even want to shoot this.
Yeah, no point. Yeah.
So what they've done is they have said, right, okay, Tyranid monsters who have Synapse can still have Transhuman.
Yep.
Or if they're in Synapse range, they can have Transhuman, which is nice. Big chunky monsters still surviving is good. You always used to get it where your little guys, so your Gaunts, Termagants, etc., etc., if they were in Synapse range, they would get baby Transhuman, which is they couldn't be wounded on 2s.
Correct, yeah.
But now they've sort of taken it off completely from the middle bracket. So your warriors, your Zonephobes, everything like that, now don't have anything. So it's actually easier to wound the middle range stuff than it actually is the smaller stuff now.
It's quite, as you say, you preface this with strange or weird. This is where it gets weird.
It's been missed.
This is weird, and I guess maybe they're just thinking that the small stuff like your Gaunts and your Termagants and your Hormagaunts, like they're not going to be an issue, maybe. But however, I'm sure there's maybe some people that are thinking, big blobs of Gaunts, maybe big blobs of Termagants with the Termagants. That could be nice. But yeah, strange. I think This is good because the whole point of Leviathan, I mean, the clues in the name, it's a Leviathan, so it's supposed to be the big Gribblies. They get the bonuses. It was obviously just amazing that everything else also got the human bonuses, like obviously apart from the wee bugs, wee Gribblies. So I think this is a good change.
Yeah.
You're going to see less of the Tyranid Warrior Death Stars.
To be fair, you'll see Leviathan, so people will.
Well, the thing is, people were already segueing into Kraken and what's the other one as well?
I've seen a few of them.
Is it just Kraken? Kraken, Behemoth. Was it not Behemoth? That people, I thought somebody was saying that, well, if Leviathan's going to get nerfed, they're then got eyes on either Kraken or they're going to eyes on another Hive Fleet as well. But yeah, Kraken seems to be the one that's kind of most popular, maybe coming out. Yeah,
it creates a real nice threat overload list when you've got Ravagers that are moving stupidly fast.
Yeah.
Kraken, you get the stratagem to auto advance 8. You know, you cast an onslaught from the other side of the board from bouncing on synaptic links, and suddenly you've got these things in your face turn 1.
Yeah.
You know, a Kraken, as well as the extra speed, you also get the extra AP. So Ravagers are coming in at -5 AP. It's like,
oh baby.
Okay, yeah,
wow.
that's just going to rip through most things.
That's impressive.
Apart from involved, obviously, but
of course, but that's impressive.
Like I said, don't think it's a bad change. I think it encourages people to play more options. So rather than being Leviathan as an auto take, it's now let's look at other stuff. But yeah, it should have the mini transhuman for the warriors and for the Zoanthropes and stuff like that as well. That feels more like an oversight than intentional.
That makes sense. Do we? So just this last point on this. Do we think that like Monster Mash is back on the menu for Leviathan? Does it do enough?
No, I don't think so. To be fair, I think people will still, you know, Nids are a really odd codex because, you know, their secondaries aren't ideal, but what they have got is a bunch of incredibly strong data slates.
Yeah.
You know, you can run so many different options that actually are just horrific for people to play against. You know, Biovores are entertaining in some ways, and Harpies, and they've got so many good options. I think the better lists that I've seen are still very much a case of they've got a selection of the good stuff. And then from there, it just comes and eats you.
Makes sense. No, fantastic. So that is all the Nids changes then.
Nids changes.
Yeah, perfect. Right. Where would you like to take us next?
I guess if we're talking about the 3 big ones that they wanted to hit, next one I guess will be Harlequins.
Let's go for it.
So sad for me because
no, it's not bottom. I want to talk about sad for you, but I think you have been quite open about the fact that it hasn't really changed much in your list, has it?
It's a weird one.
So is it going to be Asoyani it's under then?
It should be specifically Harlequins somewhere.
I can't seem to find Quins. Let's see.
Last page.
They were in the last page. Sneaky space elves. Right, here we go. So Quins, right, talk us through. You're a Quins player.
Okay.
Talk us through.
So they have specifically gone after light Quins. So this is not affecting your Twilight, this is not affecting your Dark, this is specifically light. And they've basically changed one of the wordings on it. So with light you could always move and advance and fire all your weapons as if you'd been stationary. And this included your people inside the vehicles. That part has now been taken away. So if your vehicles advance, your guys inside with the pistols can no longer shoot.
Cool.
Which it's a weird one, to be fair. So
yeah, I remember speaking to talking to you about this, and I was like, "Do you care? Do you actually care, Simon, about an average of 3 inches of like range taken away?"
Ultimately, realistically, you've lost 6 inches.
Okay.
Because your boat would normally move 16 inches, you'd advance to take it up to 22, and then
because it auto advances.
My gut instincts on this when it first came out was that's fine, because I guess I was viewing it from my own personal playstyle. So I didn't ever tend to do this hyper aggressive alpha strike with my Quins. I was always very much a turn 1 stage, turn 2 pick targets and go kill them. So I was there thinking, yep, this doesn't hugely impact me. I then had a very interesting learning experience, a game against Tau, and at that point just got completely outranged. He had his big squad of crisis suits. They were getting within the 18-inch range, where they could fire the burst cannons, and absolutely hosing me down.
Yep.
And then they would do their version of Fire and Fade and move back 7 inches. So that now puts them 25 inches away when the threat range of my fusion is now 22 inches. And he could keep doing that.
Okay. So against that key matchup, that was a big change for you.
So where that was always a matchup which I would be put down as a comfortable Quinn win, it went to actually, this is now a problem. And I've now played the gentleman twice, and each time it's gone the Tao's way.
Ah, okay.
But it is against a very good Tao player, so who knows?
Yes.
We've just had a big Coventry GT. Light Harlequins still did very well. I don't think it will hugely change the meta significantly, to be honest. Harlequins are fantastic because, one of the reasons is because they stop primary from your opponent really well, because you've got a bunch of OBSEC, and they've got secondaries which overall are easy to score. I was
going to say auto.
Auto to eat. If anyone's played Harlequins, you've seen them do behind enemy lines, you've seen them do deadly performance, and then from there, depending on your army, psychic interrogation, weave. They can do R&D, they can do banners, so they've got a really strong selection of secondaries, which is what makes them strong.
Agreed.
I don't think the Alpha Strike was what made them truly strong, and I feel that's what this is hurt more.
Okay.
I know people now are pivoting towards Twilight in a lot of cases, which is an extra attack and extra consolidation and pile in. That is
interesting.
Really good for your move block shenanigans and your wrapping and tagging and getting on objectives.
Yep.
Personally, I think people will still probably end up going back to Light in some cases because they're still resilient. From turn 2 onwards, you're still going to have people wandering around with fusion guns in your face.
Yeah.
They still have probably one of the best stratagems in the game, which is that when you charge them, they move back 6 inches.
Very
or
frustrating.
they move forward 6 inches, or they jump behind a wall 6 inches, all of which is just super strong.
Movement out with the move phase is just amazing, isn't it?
Then I had a game not too long ago against Chaos Knights, and literally we almost ended up playing Ring around us around a building, because each time he went to charge, I'd just literally move to the other side of it, and then so on and so forth. Yeah. So it is a nerf to Quins. I don't hugely think it's unwarranted. I can think it's acceptable, to be fair.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it will hugely change the meta, though. I think that for very good Quins players, they'll work around it. I think for Quins players who are maybe less experienced, it'll be a bit more of a pain. But at that point, maybe they have a flip into, try something else. Yeah. I'm trialing Twilight myself at the moment in the local league, but I'm still finding I enjoy Light more.
Cool. Okay. So just might need to amend existing strategies to, as you say, play around this, but we don't think it's going to have a particularly massive impact.
It's like anything, isn't it? There's that gut instinct to go, throw my toys out the pram. I'm not happy. You've nerfed my favourite army, but then.
I mean, as far as Quins nerfs go, this is like sprinkling. I mean, when
Quins have just been battered.
When they first came out, and rightly so. When they first came out, and obviously they nerfed the Shadow Seer and stuff like that, and the boat spam.
We had Void Weavers, which got the 55% points increase. We've got the Luck dice nerf.
Dark got nerfed.
We've got the Dark Fight on Death nerf. We've got the initial Light nerf, which was transit outside of 6 inches, was pushed to 18 inches. You've got the Shadow Seer effect. It's like they have really hammered the Quins, to be fair. Yeah. But they're still doing well.
They're still doing very well. Because then I think that's the one thing as well, when you see in very capable players' hands, like this, as you say, this list that can deny primary can get some very easy secondaries and can then very easily score primary themselves. Like that's just the perfect storm of you should be getting 90 plus every game, unless as you say you come up against a list that could just table you, like Tau or something like that. But okay, so that's Quins. Right, where should we go to next? Let's go back up to the top of the dock. So There was no change to Armour Contempt.
Nope. Oh, that stayed the same.
Oh, that stayed the same. Admech, I mean, they're going to get their... Not Admech, Astra Militarum, they're going to be getting their Codex soon anyway.
So no changes to any of those.
Sisters Custodes Drukhari.
Nope, still the same.
At all. We've then got Asurjani, so that is our Eldar.
Nope,
cousins.
no changes
Nothing.
there.
Oh my goodness. Death Guard, nothing.
Nope.
Space Marines, oh, we do have Space Marines change.
We have.
I remember this.
The world's smallest Space Marine change.
So, again, we were talking about, you said less is more, right, okay? So, how would you like 5 more points in your game if you managed to do this? So, yeah, this was a kind of a change to their secondaries. This is the shock tactics.
Yeah.
So, this is the one where they have to take an objective from an opponent, okay? So, basically, if you go first, you can't max. So now they've kind of made it if you do go first, you could still max because you get 4 points for doing it rather than 3. Do we think this is going to then increase the Space Marines win rate?
No.
No, it's not.
I think.
Don't get me wrong. What I will say is, and sorry, I'll sorry the button, but in terms of my Space Marines, so I've played Blood Angels, right?
Yep.
I genuinely am now debating whether I want to go something like shock tactics over the Relentless Assault.
Yep.
Purely because Relentless Assault causes you to really have to just go, I'm all in. You're like you're playing poker, you're like, I'm all in, I'm always going to send something into deployment zone, probably to die, right? Now, if you want to play a much cageier game of 40k, while still getting the really good secondaries of the killing things when you come out the sky, so the death from above, yeah. You could then potentially take Shock Assault and something else. So you're playing more of a trading game of, okay, so I come down, I shoot you off this thing and take the objective. That's like, what, that could potentially be 8 points in one go. And then you're like, right, cool. And next turn I'll rinse and repeat, I'll do that again. Next turn I'll do that again, while still maybe having OBSEC and getting your primaries. So genuinely could change some people's play styles because you're maybe not having to lose as many models by just throwing them away to get those objectives. But that's just from a Blood Angel standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's the issue because Blood Angels themselves actually are probably the best.
They're the strongest Space Marine, aren't they? Yeah.
So now we've gone fantastic. So here's the best Space Marine thing. They're now a bit better.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it shouldn't make any real difference.
No.
Space Marines you tend to find, unfortunately, they tend to lose quite big.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, it's like, well, cool, an extra 5 points. What difference is that going to make? Absolutely nothing. To be fair.
No, that's very, very true.
So I think that's one of the ones that was not it was not a significant enough change.
There was not much rejoicing. Let's put it that way. No, there definitely was not.
But Space Marines, who cares?
Exactly. they're going to get a new codex like in 10th edition anyway first, and they'll just be like, what?
Roll the dice, you've won.
Okay, so that's Space Marines.
Yep.
No changes to Chaos. Is that right?
No changes, but that's probably one of the ones where we were expecting.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like, I'm genuinely. But that's the thing. If GW is purely basing these changes off of the raw data of the win rates of the factions, have they just said factions are fine, don't need anything because they're sitting at that win rate that we're looking for, even though there's some egregious stuff.
Yeah,
we're not touching it because whatever.
I think that's the case? It's that thing. It's like if you think about when you start building your first army, most people tend to go down slightly more fluffier type armies. So there's I still have a Chaos Space Marine army I think my original one was Night Lords because they're cool. Yep. Would I take Night Lords to a tournament? No, but if that's my only army, I would, and that would then probably bring down the win rate because I'd get spanked with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean there is issues there. It's I think we said that our last one when we were talking about when we were expecting the data sheet to come up and we talked about what we expected, and we said that time Creation to Bile probably needs to lose or amend Fight on Death.
Just very good. Fight on. Well, I mean, look, who else has got access to Fight on Death in terms of just 40k general, 40k wide? Who has access to Fight on Death?
You have individual units. You don't have any other armies.
Yeah, so that's just factional. So we just talked about how Dark Quins got nerfed.
They had it
straight off the bat. No, we're not having that. So they changed it. What is it? 4-up, do a single mortal, like if a model dies, something like that. But now you've just got army, like the entire table wide Fight on Death. It's not just even put down to like a single unit. So that's just strong. That's insanely strong.
And to be fair, it's like if you think about the list that Dave's just run against me now was a very close combat word bearer list.
Yeah.
If that goes into Creation to Vile, it loses.
Yeah.
Because it can't trade.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. I can't go take a point, kill you off that because you just coming back. And then it's like, okay. So yeah, no, 100%. And against those trading lists, those trading armies, then yeah, it's just going to wreck face, isn't it? So.
So yeah, was expecting some changes to that. Was expecting maybe something to Abaddon, but I think I was expecting more points, and obviously the Balance Dataslate is not points.
That's true.
Rules. So
That
at some
is
point,
true. Yeah.
I can see him going.
I do genuinely wonder though if it's one of these things. It's like if Abaddon has just got the. Don't get me wrong, for 300 points, it's great value. But is it just the case of it's people or Games Workshop have just decided, yeah, but it's still a guy that's got 6-inch move and just like you stick him in the middle, you can just move around him, you can control the play, you can screen him and only feed him things and stuff like that. Like, is that people just decided he's manageable? We don't need any big changes there.
But then again, he's also a force multiplier. You know, if you're running Black Legion, that's one unit to reroll all hits and wounds. If you're running...
Yeah. And he's also phase capped and heals in Black Legion as well. Like...
And think about... I mean, I've seen decent lists up in Elgin, where it's War Dogs.
Yeah, Abaddon.
Let's just give them all reroll ones in 8.
Yeah, Abaddon and 12 War Dogs.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Can you even get 30? Is it only 12 you can fit in?
I'm not sure.
I'll have to run the maths on that. I think it's about 12. So yeah, no, like that. There's these kind of like niche scenarios where you're like, oh my god, like that's an insane combo. But yeah, I think maybe could have done some changes or yeah, just maybe make it. It's like he's really good, but just in Chaos Space Marines, if you then ally him into other things, like for example the War Dog spam, like you maybe have to pay some sort of cost.
Yeah, I mean that's that. I was talking online with a couple of guys last night, and they're messing around with the Chaos Demons list at the moment, and that's a Chaos Demon list with Abaddon. Yeah,
because that's the thing. Is like people could just go, it's like that's a really nice list. Have you tried Abaddon yet? Can it interest you in Abaddon? Take 300 points out. Abaddon. Okay. So that's Chaos Space Marines. Death Guard. No changes to Death Guard?
No changes.
Do you think they needed changes? They're doing okay.
No, I think Death Guard are.
I think they're sitting in a really nice spot. I think Death Guard are. In terms of, I mean, I hate playing them because they just make me not counter stars. They just make me not counter stars, and I'm like, no, poo, boo. But yeah, I think they're doing well. I see them doing well at tournaments.
I think it's another one that's I think it's a higher skill cap army than you expect.
Yeah.
I think people put them on the front table and go, yep, they're going to walk towards you, but then you see other people who really dived into it, really put their hours in, and actually go, yeah, this actually is a real nightmare trying to deal with this now.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, it's so funny. So you often find that in the kind of the two extremes. So like, for example, your really fast moving armies like your Quins and your Elves and stuff like that, that can also have quite a high player skill cap because they're so fast and fragile that you need to be obviously using them properly. But with the really slow armies as well, you also need to be quite a good player to then manage your resources because you can't, if you're like, oops, I accidentally moved this thing over here and now it's going to take me 2 turns to get over to this bit here. Like it's like if you don't play it properly, then it can come back and bite you. So I think you're right. Yeah, the player skill really comes into stuff there. But yeah, cool. So that's fine. So we already said Eldar no changes. We've spoken about the Nids changes. Tau. No changes?
No changes.
No changes to Tau.
Tau's an interesting one. Tau are definitely having a resurgence at the moment.
Yep.
A lot of strong players playing Tau and doing well with them. Tau's been a bit of a joke for, on and off. Yeah. They have varied.
It's so funny, they've had these peaks and troughs, haven't they? They've had like, oh my god, triple Riptide, Jesus, and then like, oh my god, new codex. Yeah, so yeah, it's they've had these peaks and troughs. It seems that they had the peak. I mean, if you talk about the start of this year, wasn't it? It was we always spoke about the big four, wasn't it? Tau, Custodes, was it Drukhari?
That's the thing, the meta change. The Drukhari were up there, Custodes were up there.
Yeah, it was just like, if you took this army, if you took one of these 4 armies, Quins probably up there as well, if you took one of these 4 armies, then, like, jobs are good and, like, don't worry. So I know they definitely saw some changes there, but still really good.
I think probably one of the things that, I don't know whether it should be on the agenda for, I guess, GW in general, is bombers. Bombers are really, really annoying. You know, maybe that's just me, but it's like, particularly, you know, it used to be, if you think back to how it was for like your Drakari Void Mines, or I mean, Orcs had their burner bomber type thing.
Oh god, was it flying head? But
yeah, but it was once a game, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's going to hit you, it's going to do stuff, and then that's it.
And then it's gone.
But with these, they're just the fact they continuously fly over you. It's like harpies for Nids.
Yeah.
It's just each turn, right, there's a smattering of mortal wounds.
Yeah.
And against armies that don't have an answer to that, it's like, it feels a little bit, I don't like this word overpowered, but it's definitely, I think, a problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, that means you've got to tech into it. You've got to be able to have an answer in your list to bombers.
But it's things, or just aircraft like, in general, don't you? Yeah, so you need stuff that can rely on.
But aircraft, if you think about it, generally, it's, you know, you've got a couple of, you know, think like your Orc ones tend to be lots and lots of little shots that will generally bounce off Arm of Contempt now, or a couple of las cannon shots, which, okay, it'll do a couple of damage to some, you know, it'll kill or injure a vehicle, but the bombers, because it happens in the movement phase as well, you can literally choose just to bomb people as you fly off the board. It's like, oh right, cool.
Yeah, I have, I have heard quite a bit of grumblings, I think, against bot. I think rightly so. I think you're right to bring it up in terms of so from turn one, they just go, right, I'm going to pick that unit, and they're taking both of these bombs. Say they're running two things, both of these bombers worth of mortal wounds, and I just like remove it. Right, cool. Next turn, do the same thing again. Next turn, do the same thing again. Next turn, do the thing. And if you get, as you say, if it was like a one and done type thing, then and you had to really pay a resource. If you pay nothing and you're just removing things, just blinking things out of existence, you know, things like your little Harlequin characters and stuff like that. Can they just go whoop over and?
So, it's more the boats with Harlequins, so...
Oh, yeah. One way to get rid of boats.
So when they fly over a vehicle, you roll 6 dice, and every 4's a mortal wound. So 2 bombers fly over a boat, statistically it's dead.
To get a boat,
And then the people have to get out, and then they shoot it. And then we repeat and rip it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not used to that.
It's like my boat's meant to sit there safely, just soaking
like,
everything
what?
up.
You kill my boat, then you kill the stuff inside? That's not right. But yeah.
Well, yeah, Tau, I definitely think, are on an upsurgence at the moment. I think if we're saying that things like Nids, Quins have all took a slight nerf, then if Tau hasn't been touched, then by definition it's got to be higher up the meta now. Particularly, I think that the Tau players are building lists that are very much taking advantage of the meta. And going back, you know, we've seen Double Riptide come back in with Ions. So it's like, cool, here we go. This has got 72-inch range guns. Try and hide from this. It's that whole concept of, you know, you've got to keep people honest. Tau are very, very good at keeping people honest.
They'll get you. Okay, so Tau, Necrons. We have a very slight change. Right, with big old Daddy K, big old Silent K, he no longer, I believe, gets the, you know how it's like the whole thing, all vehicles get core. I think they've now removed that, so he cannot get
characters. So also the Catacomb Command Barge.
Right,
that also can't get it.
So character vehicles cannot have core. Right, okay. So that again, that was just to try and remove the combos of getting, you know, all sorts of bonuses because he was core, so you could stack loads of stuff on him and he just becomes like, you know, just a death incarnate. So what do we think in terms of change? Was this is widespread enough, or
this is hideous, to be perfectly honest? So this doesn't matter realistically. Necrons are, they're like Harlequin on speed. You know, there's the second reason Necrons score are why they win. Necrons could literally not shoot a gun. They could not fight a model, and they would still beat you on primary and secondary missions. Because we've got Eternal Conquerors and we've got Relentless Expansionists. So there we go. There's a pre-game move, and everything in the army's basically got OBSEC
or double OBSEC.
Combine that with your Scarabs, which move 12, or your Tomb Blades, or you know, you're then doing actions in the middle, which are getting you 15 points. It's the Silent King having core is not what made Necrons broken. This out of everything is the one that slightly triggers me, to be honest.
It was just a bizarre thing, but so I think you've hit the nail on the head. They weren't winning because of this combination. They are winning because the secondary is amazing and everything is OBSEC. everything is OBSEC, and it just wins games. And yeah, you're right. It's kind of like this ticking clock of can I kill the Necrons quick enough before they basically are finished scoring all of their points.
Yeah.
Like you're talking within 2 turns. What was it? I was listening to it was Art of War recently. And it was just like, within 2 turns, like Necrons are up like nearly 30 to 40 points, and you're like what?
What can we do?
Like what? And that many? I'm like, oh my god, what a hill to climb.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
what could be? So what could we do? What do you think is the right change? So we didn't really see any big change here. What do you think would be the right change?
I think if you want to keep those secondaries, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't make them score as highly. So you've got is it treasures? You can get 5 points if you hold them 3 objectives in the centre.
Yeah.
So that you've maxed it in 3 turns,
mm-hmm.
and in 3 turns you will still have enough disposable chaff models that you can just throw on there to actually go, yep, cool, okay, I've got that. So maybe the points decrease on the actual secondaries to pull them down.
What about just taking away OBSEC from them? The army-wide OBSEC that everybody, every tournament Necron player, surely no one's ever not taken that.
But the problem, controversial take, but without that, are they good enough to play in the top leagues?
That's the thing, yeah. So you're talking so that it's the OBSEC and the ability to hold objectives and then also get the secondaries that makes them so strong. Yeah. If you then take away the OBSEC and the ability of them to hold objectives, then that has that kind of that domino effect of I can't get secondaries now, and therefore I'm getting nothing, and it's like back to square one, isn't it? Because Necrons were one of the worst kind of performing armies now, and they've just shot up. So it's trying to find a happy medium. So you're saying bring the secondary points down? Yep, I could see that. And again, it's not a massive change that's going to then make them unplayable. It's potentially just going to slow them down a bit. Yeah.
I mean, we could get truly controversial and say every secondary in the world just caps at 3 points a turn.
Then how are Space Marines going to 4 points for shock assault?
Except Space Marines, they can have what they want. Except the Angels.
No.
But no, I think Necron. It is a weird one because I play against Necrons quite a lot, to be fair, and they're thinking, well, actually, if they've got to can only get 3 points a turn on these secondaries, my main plan for dealing with Necrons is, like you said, it's kill them.
Yep.
And generally, by turn 4, they're down to the VL Dreg. So then we're saying, well, if that's the case, and I had the top of 4, say, well, then we're saying he's only actually going to get 9 points on each of those.
You'll have three full turns of scoring. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So I don't know. I think bring the points down slightly. I'd say take away the double OBSEC, but no one cares about the double OBSEC, to be perfectly honest.
Because everything just getting OBSEC.
Yeah, because no one actually runs those. They run all the fast
no one's running troops. No, are they? Exactly. No. Why would you?
You run destroyers, you run scarabs, you run bikes, and and a Silent King.
That'll do.
If they can come up with something to make it a slightly more viable way of playing a different style, but
it was so funny because it's like when they brought out Everything Gets Core, I know everyone was like, oh cool, like you can have all these varied like awesome Necron lists. Like no,
it's just gonna spam Scarabs.
It's just gonna be Scarab City, baby. But yeah, so what have we got? So we've got Alan in the chat. He's saying heresy, all caps and exclamation marks. He's literally screaming at us. I don't know what for. So if it's the Alan we think it is, if we think this is Death Guard, I think this is Alan Davidson, then maybe when we're talking, did we talk about Death Guard?
We touched on it. We talked about they've actually got a high player skill. So if it is that Alan, we accept he has a high player skill.
If he's saying heresy to that, then we agree. So he's not a high player skill. But it could be also to do with the Necrons because he then has put no OBSEC sad face. So I'm like, So I don't know. Are you? So he's saying heresy for no OBSEC. Oh, interesting. So he's very much against the removal of the Necron OBSEC.
I am, because they won't win.
They just don't work at all.
It's like,
well, they should just get a good codex then.
Maybe.
No, I think you're right. I think it's probably too far. Because are you there just then taking the bottom blocks of the Jenga tower out and the whole thing collapses if you remove that. So I think secondary change could be good.
Hey, if anyone else has got any better ideas about
what
would work with Necron,
yeah, come on, give us some options, folks.
Maybe you could go something along the lines of Canoptic don't get OBSEC. There's that whole fluffy argument of there's some kind of the mindless little bug creatures anyway.
Little cretins,
so maybe, I don't know. That's an option.
Yeah, that's true. Alan's saying take the 3 command points from Silent King. It's not needed. Okay, but if it's not needed, then it's not going to change. Remove Scarabs being able to do actions. Oh, okay. So they can do actions.
Yeah.
Because
they're core.
Because they're core. But they're swarm. Are they not swarms? But that's still fine. That's not a written rule that swarms can't do actions, right? I wonder, do we need to have an actual core rule change then that swarms can't do actions, potentially? Or just Scarabs, do we think? God, my bloody cultists can't do actions! These little metal spiders can do actions, what? God's sake. Oh no, that's a good, I like that idea. I like that, potentially, yeah, because people are taking the big box of Scarabs, whacking the 5 up, invuln on them, sending them on their way and just being massive roadblocks. This is the other thing as well, right? I used to play Necrons donkeys ago when the book first came out, since sold. But what I didn't realise you could do, this is hilarious. Somebody charges your Scarabs, you use the strap to blow one up, remove them from engagement range, the person can't fight you.
It'd be very situational. There's something like a 3-inch pile in.
True, because they charge. But if you could do
that's like leave a pointy scarab right in the front.
You could do it in such a way to remove them from engagement. I'm just like, oh my god, that is tremendous. So yeah, so there's
maybe,
stuff there.
And this would be a core rules change rather than that. But maybe we go down the line of units can't hold more than 1 objectives.
Yeah.
Because obviously a nice 9-man squad of scarabs can stretch across half the board and hold multiple objectives.
Yeah. That's very true.
That's how you see Necrons. Some Necron players do it, and they do it as waves. So, your wave 1 will be 9 Scarabs holding 2 objectives. They've got 5 of invuln, so you've got to get through that.
Yeah.
Then next turn, the second squad of 9 Scarabs with 5 of invuln come forward.
Bloody waves, yeah. Alan is kind of further up saying that if you remove the 3 CP, he's saying that removes the ability to take the outrider detachment for free, which I'm guessing is what people have taken to get the many Scarabs as well. So maybe it forces you then into having to take battalions or patrols. So you have to take the crap troops to then be able to get stuff. But again, it's only taken one what do you call it? What's the immortals? 1 squad of 5 immortals or something. That'll fill out your troop slot to be able to take that.
If you take away that, so let's think. If you start on just a Vanguard detachment, that means you're starting on 6 CP. If with the Silent King at the moment pushing you up there, so use 1 for Veil of Darkness, because why wouldn't you? Yeah, I think it needs more than that.
No,
but it's actually not a bad start.
I mean, all these ideas, perhaps cumulatively, could then bring them down, because they're doing very, very well. Right, let's stop bashing on Necrons for a bit. Orcs. We saw no changes with Orcs.
Nope.
No. Do we think they are in? Clearly GW think that they're in the perfect place because they've not given them any changes. So are we in agreement with GW? We just saw Orcs win SoCal. Nice big golf list, went 6-0.
Yep.
Yeah. What do we think?
Weird one. I actually don't see that many Orc players to actually get.
I was like, I don't think I've actually played. I have played one person at a Scotch tournament with Orcs, and that was Snake Bites, which was very annoying against Blood Angels because I didn't have any pluses to win. So it's just removed. It's like, he's still transhuman. But yeah, so Orcs, they saw obviously big changes to their speed one, all the buggy spam and stuff like that was happening.
They've hit the nerf a few times.
Hit the nerf a few times. We did see people then kind of transition into these golf builds, just these big waves of boys builds to just kind of threat overload. And in that SoCal one, I've been very interested in it, looking at kind of how it played. So it was double kill rig, which is just a great unit. He's got a death roller with 5 mega knobs in there. He's got Gaz, obviously because he's amazing, and Goffs because he gives all the buffs and the heroes and what have you. So he's got 3 squads of 3 Squig Hog Riders, exactly. Just kind of just bare bones with the wee bomb squigs, the wee mortals that they can put out as well. He's got 25 commandos in a 10-10 and a 5, and he was kind of saying as his first wave commandos were great to kind of almost kind of like pin people back, and then he sends in the next wave, and then he sends in the next wave, and either the opponent is tabled or you know, like it's not kind of worked, kind of a thing. So no, I thought it was really interesting.
You've got Gaskell as well, who himself has the wound cap.
Yeah, he's got the damage cap as well. He did also say that he had a Warbike on Warboss on bike, who was his MVP because he just used him as a suicide missile of advance and charges, go pew and just kill like a key thing with the Kelly Claw. So it was just a really interesting list to kind of read through. And obviously you hear the guy's thoughts. I can't remember for the life of me the guy's name, but
can't remember.
But no, really, obviously, clearly a very good player and knows his orcs inside and out. But yeah, I would have liked to maybe see something here, something from.
I mean, definitely they have been changed fairly recently. So the war itself has changed just recently. So it was always just advance and charge. Now you're talking, you've got advance and charge, some AP, some attacks, but now you've got the invul built into it as well. That was changed at the last time. So that does give them that bit of extra survivability. I don't know. Maybe one of the issues that were happening in general, and I don't know the answer to this, but is, are we just seeing factions where there's just one option that's too good? So, you know,
interesting.
If you're saying orcs, are we saying that goths are by far and away superior to the other one? So there almost becomes no huge choice about what you say. You know, think of Craft World. You know, we have multiple different options, but most people will be either, if they're talking competitively, you'll see Ulfway or you'll see a custom faction. Yeah. You don't tend to see the other one. So it feels like a lot of effort put into these codexes to give you multiple options. Yeah. But then I guess the second you get to that competitive scene, it's, well, this one's better.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, competitive players are very good at just, testing, running the numbers, stats, making the most efficient list possible, and then, just generally coming to a consensus of, well, this is it. This is the list. You can have very slight tweaks and variations to the units within the list, but this is pretty much it. You go this sub-faction, you go these kind of 2 or 3 core combinations within that, and then you can, maybe there's some choice available there, or it's just spam the most efficient unit, and that's it.
Blood Angels, Sangard.
Well, that's it, Sangard, you've spammed boats and troops for
I've only got 5 data sheets, man. What do you expect?
But it's that thing, but yeah, so it is sad when you have these codexes that are huge, big, thick, meaty tomes, and it's like, why wouldn't you go anything with that? Yeah.
But that's definitely above our pay grade.
Well, that's the thing. But that's also the competitive world that we live in as well. This the Balance Dataslate is there to really address mesh issues at kind of competitive level, tournament level, and stuff like that. But obviously, for casual gamers and people that don't play that, play narrative or whatever, then there's still all these options to go for. But in terms of
I think that's probably something that's worth hammering in as well for people who do play that more narrative or crusade or anything like that. You do not have to use the Balance Dataslate. Just make sure that your opponent, the two of you are on the same page, what you're actually playing, but it is ultimately still a game. If you don't want to play with these rules, you don't.
Absolutely not.
This is obviously more aimed at the competitive scene here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So we've ordered in Quins, so let's just back up. So let's just get a very...
we've missed one.
Let's see, who have we missed?
We've definitely missed one.
We've missed a change.
Yeah.
An actual change. Oh.
Admech.
So no Quins. Oh, yes. Absolutely right.
Not in there?
So Admech, I know why there's a change. Because they just took them off the data slate. That was the change. If you remember, they had the clause in there that was such and such removed core. It was the chickens, wasn't it? It was the last chickens. Yeah. So now basically everything that had core. So Admech, you get your whole codex back.
Well done. you play off a codex.
Yeah, exactly. It's a first. I'll ask the question. Do we think it's enough? Do we think it was enough for Admech?
Well, then think about Admech when they first came out. They were smashing everybody.
But that was a very different meta landscape, wasn't it? How long are we talking ago now that Admech came out and was basically just, beating everyone to a pulp?
A long time.
A long time ago.
But
and we've had very powerful codexes in between then and now.
But you've still got some truly hideous stratagems that the Admech have got again.
So I mean, so by them just completely out the data slate. So you've got that Mortal Wounds strat back now, don't you? So the one where what they call it? Is it the Vanguard strat or the Ranger strat? It's Mortal Wounds, and it's no longer capped because they had to remove. the cap, or was it a bigger one? It was like six.
No, so
six models, but now it was capped to 3, but now they've removed that. Is that
You've got, the one that's really going to change with the Vanguard is the auto wounding on 4s. So
Yeah.
any 4s to hit now count as an auto wound.
Yeah.
When you're talking, you've got 60 shots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no AP as standard, but you can at least
Yeah.
get them up to -1 AP, which, okay, against Marines doesn't hugely matter, but that's still an awful lot of shots. You
Good
go back,
to you.
yeah, absolutely shred Harlequins.
Yeah.
You're talking the Rangers getting their double shooty type thing back when they switch to the firing profiles, which once again, you're talking 60 odd shots. This can be -2, possibly -3. I think -2.
I'm sure I thought they could push it to -3 somehow.
Not gonna lie, been a long time since I've played.
No, that's right. And again, it's a long time, since I played against an AdMech player. But the thing is, so they still have kept all of the, because you know how obviously they got the special kind of Army of Renown, is that right? Like the one that made all the kind of the foot troops great, because it gave them the 5-up invulns and it gave you all this kind of different interaction with that. So they still have all those toys to play with. Is that right? Oh, what we got here? Yeah. So Alan's saying so might as well give them the 6 flyers back. They might have a chance because having strats is nice, but in an F1 world there is no 0 CP. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So
actually, yeah, that is
talking about Bombersman. So that was a list that was initially came out, and it was horrendous.
I love that list.
I bet you do. I bet you love that list. Nobody else did. But yeah, that's true. In F1 world, we're talking if you're wanting to take the warlord traits, the relics.
And probably that's the thing about the AdMech. It was always very front loaded. You spent so many CP before the game started.
Yeah, and then you still had some to then really push the damage through, but now you can't do both, can you?
Maybe we need Cole to have some kind of like +3 CP, you know.
He can do it. Well, I mean, he's the man that can do it, right? He just writes his own rules. He's like, yes,
it's nice to see him on the board.
I get 12 CP. Oh, but I remember, God, this is going way back, isn't it? When you had Call, Mars, you had all the Cataphrons, Breachers, Destroyers.
I still have all those Breachers and Destroyers.
Castellans,
Don't move.
Exactly. It's like they're gathering some really nice dust up there. They look proper AdMech up there. They've just been woken up. But yeah, so
I think this is one that'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen any huge shifts in the meta to anyone recently absolutely smashing it with AdMech since the changes.
No.
But I think it's also one of the ones that, you know, their win rate was horrific, like 39%, but it is also probably the single most complicated codex to play.
My God, the sheer number of command phase things you have to do is insane. So yeah, I think again there's a skill cap there as well, or just a memory cap. Maybe you have to remember that.
It's like when I've played someone and I literally remember their first command phase was 22 minutes because I had put them on a clock by that point. To be fair, it's like we are not getting past turn 3 otherwise.
No, exactly. So yeah. So AdMech, so they've got some toys back, I suppose. I mean, chicken's being core again is nice.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
Yeah, the CP comment from Alan there's probably spot on. To be fair, it's can they do it enough? Yeah. Can they be enough of that threat now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so that's pretty much us. Sisters, I'd say. Just in terms of stuff that maybe didn't get changes, but just our kind of overall thoughts before we finish up. So Sisters, I think, are in a really nice place.
Yeah, agree.
I don't necessarily think we needed to have seen any nerfs here. I think they're okay. But again, is it right? So is it just is everyone just taking bloody rolls? You were just talking about. You were just talking about. You know, have we just come to a day and age now where everyone just takes the one thing in every single list, and it's like, so is Bloody Rose just the best thing, and that's why everyone takes it?
Yes.
Cool, perfect. So again, in this competitive space, you know, there's very little kind of space for kind of list variants or what have you, and you just have to take the best thing, don't you? So Bloody Rose being the best there.
Unfortunately, what you really don't want to be is Sisters when you run up against Creations of Battle, because you will lose. You don't have an option.
That's very true. Okay, we're not going to touch on Guard because they're getting new codex. Custodes. Now, I remember the glory days of Custodes when they first came out, and they were a really, really, very, very strong army. Since then, several nerfs later, and I hear tell that the best list you can take for them are all Forge World models. So
I have seen Sagittarium spam do respectably. It's
okay.
like,
people are kind of talking about the Forge World Dreadnoughts, the Forge World tanks. You know, in terms of just the little foot boys that you just get from Games Workshop. don't really tend to see them. I mean, we saw a lot of the Praetor spam, didn't we, when they first came out? But then they kind of took a bit of a nerf. What do we think, Custodes wise? Should we have seen something here to try and help them out? Or do we think, again, possibly running off of the back of certain tournament players doing very well with certain lists, like maybe like 1 or 2 different lists? Do we think that they are kind of winning off the back of that and don't need anything, or do we think we need to see more for them? I mean, this is all you. I've not played Custodes since.
To be fair, you don't tend to see them as much in the competitive scene now since they had the nerfs come in.
Yeah.
Oop, Alan wants to again.
Let's see. Oh no, he's just saying no more bomber spam, please. You're like, no! You said give him the 6 flyers back.
I like the shooty ones.
Shooty ones are cool. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I guess, are we talking that we want everyone in the world to be a top tier meta army? And obviously they can't all be top tier. Custodes sit middle of the patch. I'm sure once again you'll have exceptional players who get exceptional results from them. I'm sure you'll have bad players who get bad results from them. I think you will get a solid result if you know your army and know how to play it. There will always be that rock, paper, scissors element of 40k where sometimes you will get a matchup which is horrific for you.
Well, I mean, it's rock, paper, scissors in any sort of competitive game, isn't it? You're going to have that one thing that you're not great against, and you're going to have that thing that you hunt against, you really take off, and then you've got that amber matchup of this could go either way. So, no, I mean, like, that's fair enough. I do wish I'd see maybe just more. I'd like to see more Custodes in play. I'd like to see more lists that aren't just Forge World, spam the most efficient units from Forge World, and that's kind of a thing. I want to see the wee guys up. I want to see the Alaris Terminators. I want to see the Custodian Guards. Anyway, but yeah, okay, that's that. Drukhari, don't need any changes. They're absolutely fine. Moving on. Bloody Drukhari. I mean, they still do well. They still do well, I think, in capable hands, right?
It's interesting actually. I've been talking about a few guys recently about whether Drukhari is back on board, to be fair, whether there's an option for it in the meta.
Drukhari back in the menu?
Obviously there is the rack spam, which
quite gets old really quick.
which is its own way of playing, but my personal thoughts at the moment is there may be space for Drukhari good stuff again. So that's one of the things I'm looking into at the moment.
I really like the list you brought on the channel. When we first started out, that very kind of mixed arms list. You had Hellions, you had the boats with Incubi, you had the what do you call it? The Grots. You had the Grots as well. I think they've got, again, nice varied builds that you can potentially pick on as well, right?
I think the problem is it's a nice solid. If you go to a tournament, you may be 4-1, but it's trying to how you take it to that next step to actually get that 5-0 with them, and that's where probably having other than running rack spam, which to be fair, I also think the decent players have now figured it out. It's like give the Drukhari player 4 morale checks a turn and just watch how many of them run away. So. I'm not sure. I still like Drukhari. I think in the current meta, I actually think some of the changes that they've actually made are probably not necessary. Don't get me wrong. The whole Kronos Talos core, every Drukhari player will always say yes, reverse that. Personally, I think that the transhuman and the damage reduction, both of them stopping at strength 7, I think is a little... In the current meta, with the current world, with how much strength 8 shooting there is around the place, it sort of goes, well, actually, would it have really hurt if you're getting damage reduction against strength 8 weaponry? It's 1 damage reduction. realistically, Strength 8 weaponry is now doing, look at the new guard tanks that are coming.
Yeah.
It's 3 plus D3 damage.
Yeah.
Is 1 damage reduction going to make a grand difference in that scheme of things?
You also don't, so I mean, obviously damage reduction 1 works really well against damage 2. You don't really tend to see anything that's strength 8 or above at damage 2.
Basically, it's plasma. Overcharged plasma is basically it.
Yeah. So you're talking, I think that could be a potential change you could see. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. I think that, I don't think that would be a meta breaker if that came back, but I think it would give them a wee little nudge again back in the right direction.
And again, people could then obviously build in for it as well. But no, okay, yeah. As I say, I really like Drukhari. I think every time I've seen you run on them, I think they do really well. So Eldar, I know they don't have any changes here. They got a kind of a recent error. I mean, we went down. Where were we again? Down to Newcastle.
Yeah.
A good few months ago, you took your Hail of Doom list before the Hail of Doom nerf, and now it's that
was after the first Hail of Doom nerf, so I couldn't get the ignore cover at that point.
Oh really? Oh, was that with the first one? So you could only take Hail of Doom, and that's it, because it costs you basically all your kind of faction points, whatever, for taking the custom. So that's interesting. So that was post Hail of Doom nerf.
Yeah.
Cool. They've stayed the same. So Hail of Doom stayed the same. You still can't have that and another toy. What's our thoughts on that? Do we think do you think Eldar are doing fine?
Eldar, Yunari is doing well. Once again, exceptional players doing exceptional results with them.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at running Eldar, Yunari is probably the way to run them at the moment.
Yeah.
The major issue with Craft Worlds at the moment is their secondaries are not great, to be fair.
Yes, and I've often noticed that. I was just kind of looking. Can you pass that net book? Sorry, I've noticed that that when you played the Eldar and what have you, you're kind of struggling maybe for that second or third. Secondary, yeah.
I mean, you reach a stage where, the list that I was would end up with 3 Farseers, just so I had reliable. Because to me, to maximise Eldar, you've got to actually get your psychic working. It's, to me, it's the whole army comes together, which I actually love that style. But if I'm having to tie up a Farseer doing psychic every phase, like an action, then at that point it's like, well, I had 3. I think my last list, I had a Warlock Council, a single Warlock on bike, and 3 Farseers, which at that point you're talking that's quite a considerable investment.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just to try and make the army work. So, you've got the secondaries that Eldar have. The psychic one is okay. It's basically mutate landscape from the Thousand Suns. The ranger scouting one is, once again, it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's probably only reliably a 10, because you can get it done outside. The chance of you getting during opponent's zone to get the 4 is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Particularly unless you spec completely into it and go, cool, I'm going to have tons of rangers, which are just not great for other things.
Yeah.
And the final one is just weird, because you can't even, because you've got to pick an objective a certain distance outside your deployment zone. You can't even take that on certain maps, other than picking an objective that's right in the middle of the board or in your opponent's zone. So it's, I think their secondaries could do with some help, to be perfectly honest. It's just a little bit. If you consider that their own their own secondaries are not great, and then you think, well, Engage is now harder than it was.
Engage is very hard, yeah.
Because you've got to get that 6 inches past. So then you start building specifically for the secondary game. So you go, and I'm going to try and get behind enemy lines. So you're talking Scorpions and Hawks and Vipers and all these things to sort of just score the secondary. But at that point, I think you start losing some of the killing power. So
yeah, because that's, again, it's one thing that they can shine with is maneuverability, and also the primary removal for the opponent. They're quite good at. So if they don't have the secondary kind of power behind that, then they're not great. Eldar. So that's pretty much us. I think.
The only one we've not got anything on there for is demons.
Yeah, so what I was gonna do was we've touched on a few armies. Is probably just to very quickly just go through a list of all the kind of armies that haven't seen any data slate action at all, which basically means that Games Workshop has said that you don't need any help, but you also don't need any nerfs as well. And we'll go through it very quickly. So we've got knights of both flavours. With nothing, they've said that everything's fine. Do we think yay or nay on that? Do we think that everything is fine with both flavours of Knights, or do we need some things?
I think both of them have got decent secondaries. Both of them. The Knights are still very much a gatekeeper army. You've got to be able to.
Always have been, haven't they? Yeah, again, it's like the rock to and the rock paper scissors. Yeah.
I don't think they're in a bad place, to be fair.
Yeah.
Particularly, a lot of people do play team events. In a team event, there's definitely a place for Knights.
Yep.
In solo events, realistically, you know for a fact, if you're going in as a solo Knight player, there are some matchups that are not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
And you can't really do much about that. It's just more, you're going
to have to play for points, aren't
But you get the fun of pushing around big stompy Knights. So.
Which is great. And also your turns are super quick. So that's another plus as well. Okay, so Knights. Speaking of Knights, Grey Knights. Again, something that was very, very strong when it first came out, and I've not really seen much Grey Knight action at all. What's your thoughts on them?
They made the Grey Knight secondaries harder, and the rest of the Grey Knight stuff, the other secondaries, things like coming in from teleport assault or gate and stuff like that, they're very situational. So with the psychic secondary going harder and the other secondaries, you can try and work around. I think Grey Knights are not in a great spot secondary wise.
Yeah.
They will still certainly absolutely destroy some lists.
Yeah.
Their psychic output is still very, very solid, to be fair.
Yeah.
Against armies, against Quins, for example, the mortal wound is cool. There's your dead boats.
So, cool. That's ideal for them. Dead boats, and then all the bottles will take care of your
so
ships. Yeah.
Certain matchups okay, but I think they probably need a wee tweak in terms of, let's either make the secondaries a bit easier, or I don't think even a points decrease on Grey Knights would be the worst shout in the world.
No, possibly not.
I think it'd be interesting. I haven't seen many people running Terminators.
Yeah, well, I was actually about to say, so I know that when they first came out, it was all kind of like Dread Knight spam, and it was like, Grey Knights are now a shooting army, and it's good at shooting immortals, and that's there, it's like ranged output, and then obviously they kind of put the nerf on the Dread Knights and what have you, and then I did see people running more. It's like, okay, let's bring Terminator bricks back. And make them really hard to kill, and kind of go for that. So maybe that could be viable as well. I think people still running the mid squads of Insectors and stuff like that is still interceptors rather. But yeah, Obsec
Terminators. We know how powerful this is from the CSM Marine.
On points, Obsec. Either have to have enough to take me off, or I'm just going to score Primate all day. That's a good shout. So maybe some points decreases there could help. Onto the Chaos stuff now. T-Sons? Dozen Sons?
Solid play still.
Yeah.
Their secondaries are very good. And to me, they're an army that plays two phases really well.
Yeah. Their
shooting is actually really powerful for what it actually is. And their psychic is fantastic.
Yeah.
They're okay in melee. I think they're a decent army overall. I think they're in a solid position.
Absolutely, yeah. I think they've definitely got
It's an army that when I go against, no matter what I'm running, I'm always expecting a game. It's never going to be a walkover.
No, absolutely. That's good. Right, so Demons, that was one thing you wanted to touch on now. It's interesting. Demons recently got a brand new codex and haven't received any changes at all from that. So is that a good sign of a good balanced book?
No, so we're still expecting the FAQ, I think, for Demons.
Okay,
so we're still expecting changes to come through. A lot of it will probably be points-based related. Okay. So if there's a person in the world who doesn't think that Flamers are not going to go up in points...
Yes, so yes, very, very efficient for what they do.
Yeah.
So in terms of their output versus what they are, and then three up invulns against shooting as well. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, in a game where they've basically taken away 3 up invulns in general, it's like, let's just give it to these guys.
That's genuinely something to consider as well, because demons don't have an invuln. They have a demon save. So it doesn't interact with other rules in the game that work around invulns as well. So you've got the Leagues of Votann, they ignore invulns, that doesn't work. Tau, ignore invulns, doesn't work. Take away invulns with null zone and stuff like that doesn't work.
Depressingly, Grey Knights, Demon Slayer, Warlord trait, which ignores demon invulns, doesn't work. And that's just sad.
Almost got. Drago's just like, no. But yeah, cool. So demons we think are going to get hit with some changes.
I think they'll definitely get some points changes.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see where they're going to go with them, to be fair. I think a lot of people are still adjusting to the small squads.
Yep.
Because people were always very much, cool, I'm going to run 20 Bloodletters at you or 20 Demonettes. I think people are still adjusting to the smaller ones.
Yeah.
You can play them multiple ways. So, I've seen big monster mash, I've seen swarms of stuff, and they all seem to work in their own little ways. Well, when they get to top tier competitive is a different question, to be fair. I think the big issue that they've got at the top tier competitive tables is if they are running big stuff, everything's over 20 wounds.
Yeah.
So you can't hide.
Yeah.
So at that point, armies like Tau just go, fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's just kill you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And at that point, it's then very much like you, a Harlequin player. It's how many 4 pinballs can I roll?
How hot can I roll?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Okay. So demons, some changes expected. At least I didn't get At least I didn't get an actual pre-release nerf. That's right. We will be talking about Wotan just very briefly. Right. Gene Stealer cults. GSC. Should we have seen? I would have liked to see something for GSC. As somebody who's building a GSC army right now,
I haven't even been that like 2 years.
I've been running something like that. No, you just face proxy GSC. So no, it's time. The cult rising uprising is coming. But I would have liked to have seen something.
But then it comes to what would you want to see? And if you say Aberrants get core, which is the standard answer that every Gene Stealer player gives, and then you ask the question, well, would that make you win? And then they tend to go,
why don't they have core? I thought they did. No. Yeah, so just not necessarily. I mean, we were seeing Gene Stealer doing well with no Aberrants whatsoever. I mean, I know they've never had core. We get that, but they're just a really cool army. And they were very much just like a shenanigans army. They were like we can trade, and then we can also go back in the shadows. We can hide. We can I just don't think they just don't have the staying power on a 40k table. Like what you need now in terms of 40k, they just die. They just straight up
but
die.
are we talking to skill cap army again? I've seen.
Possibly, yeah.
So I play with Innis. I play with Ricky. Both of those. Very...
You can't use Innis.
You can.
No, that's oh god, yeah.
But no, there are still. I remember talking to Ricky about his Gene Stealer Court army once, and he's like, by the end of day 2 in a tournament, I can barely remember my own name type of situation because it's that level of.
That, yeah.
You're not planning turn 1. You're planning turn 4.
You don't even get a deployment phase because you're not deploying. You're deploying little blips. So no, you're right. It's a big neural load. And it does, and yes, I think it does come with a very much a higher player skill cap as well. I'd like to see them get some love, a bit more love, I think, than what they have.
But the secondaries are strong. So that means you're then talking. Okay, so if we're saying that a secondary being strong is one of the major points in an army being good, I'm talking very specifically competitive scene here now. So what can they do? They're obviously talking. Do they make the units stronger? Do they make them cheaper? Do they give them additional rules? It's
cheaper would be good. Just get more bodies. Find me cheaper. No, I know. I think you're right because you look through that book and I think there's quite a lot of viable options.
What was the list that was running all the bikes?
Yeah,
that dude's doing fantastic.
Bike spam with 5-up invulns and wards. The shrugs. That's like, but again, that's taking a thing that is a very good dish, and then just spamming it, which is how 40k works. What's the best thing, right? Take a
ranks, have 180 of them.
Take a million of that. But no, again, it's one of these things that's like, I'm probably just like, I want to get something, and you're like, well, what do you want? I don't know. But yeah, the easy answer is Aberrant's core, obviously, because they're so cool. Love Aberrants. But yeah, okay, so we've got GSC, they've got 0 love on the Dataslate. We've already spoken about Tau and Orcs, and yeah, I think that's pretty much us. The only other thing that isn't in here that is going to be getting a way more spotlight tomorrow is Leagues of Votan. They're a new codex on the scene. We've obviously not seen much of them at tournaments recently because you either had to take all bike spam, the Hernkin Pioneers.
Yep.
Because that was they only had the four models.
Like
exactly. Just spam go. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what shakes out of the kind of the competitive sphere of what they think like the Votan list is and stuff like that. They obviously did see it was just like before they'd even out. Like these are all points increases and all these things, like main change on like a core rule of the army as well and stuff like that. Which do you think it was warranted?
people run the maths, to be fair, and you know, particularly with things like TTS, people can do trial games.
I mean, Germany banned them.
Yeah,
just banned them from tournaments.
Several tournaments run by one organiser.
So, my apologies. I
just wasn't Germany as a whole.
I've looked the entire country. This is how.
Apology to our German viewers.
Yeah, this is a propaganda side. Like, this whole country was against this thing. The people in Germany are like, what are we talking about? So there was like tournament-wide bans. Before they'd even really kind of like
ultimately, Battlecry is a dice game. No one can argue that.
Yeah.
If you've got an army-wide rule which basically says you need to half the number of dice that you're rolling, then that is a huge increase in power.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
You know, it's literally, think about it's basically Hail of Doom on speed. It's like, imagine if people said, right, so Hail of Doom. Yeah, it's going to go at falls. Are you alright with that? Yeah? Yeah, cool, no problem.
Wait, what? It's like, and I can re-roll as well.
I can re-roll, I can do this, and I can do that. And when you shoot me back, I've got Arm of Contempt.
Arm of Contempt, and you can't re-roll wounds against my Arm of Contempt. So basically, I'm Salamanders, right? And I get this, and you're like, it's like, I can totally, I can see that.
I've got these beam weaponry, so they hit multiple things. This one is not, and the damage spills over.
Oh my god, stop! I'm already dead. I think it'll be interesting. But yeah, if you check out, guys, we're going to be doing a proper big Leagues of Votann Codex review tomorrow with Mr. Brian. Is it Seep? Yeah, is that? Oh, I'm sure we
well-known Tau player.
I was like, how do I pronounce his surname? Yeah, so Tau player. Obviously he wants to go for the overpowered shooting army.
Yeah, 100%.
But no, it'll be great to have a chat about that tomorrow. But yeah, just thought I'd kind of briefly touch on that at the end and kind of highlight that as well. So we've had a good chinwag, Simon. We've had a good old chinwag about the kind of the data slate as a whole, the changes or not changes that have occurred, whether we think they're impactful or not. We've also had a very, very brief touch on all the other armies as well, and whether we think either maybe they should have got something or not as well. So I think we've been very, very thorough there. Anything you think we've missed, or anything else you'd like to say before we kind of wrap up?
Maybe reiterate Necrons.
Simon would really like to stamp his worries as like, could I interest you in Necrons?
Like,
and how worried I am about them.
Hell, I've got Necrons, and even I won't play them.
God, it must be bad if Simon won't play them. No, fantastic. No, I think we've done really well. And yeah, perfect. We've got nothing else in chat. So all that's left for us to do is, that's us at the top now, is to say thanks. Yeah, so thank you, folks, for watching. And I hope we've done it. Hope we've done the data slate justice, and we've given our kind of our hot takes and our thoughts. And yeah, by all means, if you have any thoughts of yourself, comment down below. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the video as well. And yeah, maybe even become a member, maybe become a patron as well if you want to. So again, huge thanks to sponsors tabletopminis.co.uk. Thanks to the patrons as well. We've got JP Gaz, Craig Graham, Karen Newby, and Scott Smith. Also, thank you to Simon for joining us. It's been a long day for you, Simon.
Always a pleasure.
Battle Report, and Battlecry, same evening, and now Simon's away home to play God of War Ragnarok.
So next time you see me on Thursday, I'm just going to look dead. But hey, never
it's
mind.
Just like, you know that meme where it's like a little block and somebody's like, you can only have like gaming, social life, family, or sleep, and it's like you can only have like 3 of those things. I just see Simon like removing sleep from his little blocks, and then yes,
100%.
Okay, coffee's a great thing. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And yes, we're going to be recording a battle report on Thursday. For some bonus content, okay, for our patrons and what have you. And then, we've, as I said, we've got League of Votann Codex review tomorrow. We've got a live stream battle report on Saturday, and another live stream battle report on Sunday. I'm going to be 40k out my nut this week, but no, really looking forward to. And yeah, if you need any more details, check out Twitter, Instagram. The handles are down below as well. So without further ado, I think that's us, mate.
That's us.
Okay, perfect. Right. Well, good night, and we will hopefully see you next time. And remember to answer the call. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.